Imagine winning a bloody war for freedom, only to vote it away.
Let's vote! Let's vote!
February 19th, 1846, Austin, Texas. Just 9 years after breaking free from Mexico, President Anson Jones stood before the Texas flag and ordered it lowered forever. He declared the Republic of Texas dead. 4,245 Texans voted to surrender the very freedom their brothers had bled for at the Alamo. Decades later, East Germany did the same, its first freely elected parliament voting itself out of existence. What drives free people to choose chains? I'm taking you on a journey through the history of 4 free nations who chose to commit national suicide. Texas, the lone star that chose to fall. 94.6% of free people voted to kill their own nation. Here's the horror of how it happened. March 6, 1836, dawn breaks over the Alamo. 180 defenders, 2,000 Mexican soldiers, 0 chance of survival. This wasn't a battle. It was deliberate suicide. They knew they were going to die, every single one. But here's what will shatter everything you think you know about sacrifice. They didn't just stay to fight. They chose to die because they believed something was worth more than life. Freedom. The blood didn't stop at the Alamo. Across Texas, men fell in ditches, burned in their homes, bled out in muddy fields. By March 1836, the frontier was a graveyard. But from that graveyard rose a nation. For 9 years, Texas was unstoppable. It minted currency accepted by European banks, commanded armies that made empires nervous, signed treaties with Britain and France. This wasn't some backwater territory. This was a functioning republic, proud, independent, free. And then came the day that defied all logic. July 4th, 1845. The same date America declared independence. Texas voted to murder theirs. Constitutional Convention 55-1. Politicians, you think? Wait. October 13th, 1845. The people spoke. 7,664 to 430. Stop for a second. Out of more than 8,000 Texans, only 430 said, "We keep our freedom." 94.6% voted for national suicide. The same people who had watched their brothers die at the Alamo voted to make every drop of that blood worthless. February 19th, 1846. President Anson Jones faced a crowd of thousands. The Republic of Texas is no more. Eyewitness Noah Smithwick remembered seeing grown men weep as the Lone Star fell, then almost instantly cheer as the American flag rose. Think about this horror. They had conquered the impossible, defeated Santa Anna's war machine, built paradise from hell. So the question remains, what makes 94.6% of free people vote to surrender their freedom? If freedom can be voted away once, what makes you think it won't be again? East Germany, the country that erased itself. When Nazi Germany surrendered on May 8, 1945, the world exhaled. Evil was dead, but in the ashes something colder began to breathe. Picture this, a nation without a leader, without a future, and 4 foreign powers holding the scalpel, ready to carve it apart. Hitler's corpse was barely cold when the victors stepped in. The United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. They carved Germany like a corpse on an operating table. They promised to rebuild it. They promised the division was temporary. Every single word was a lie. By 1949, 2 Germanys were born from one bleeding carcass. The West breathed free. The East suffocated under Soviet control. And in the East, freedom didn't just die. It was tortured to death, slowly, methodically, psychologically. Then came the Stasi, East Germany's ruthless secret police. But calling them police is like calling cancer a headache. They built something the world had never seen, a surveillance machine so total it infected the human soul. Neighbors became informants, husbands betrayed wives, children turned in their parents. They called it Zersetzung, psychological decomposition, industrial-scale warfare designed to shatter the human spirit. For 41 years, East Germany existed as a nation of walking corpses. When millions tried to flee west, the regime answered with bullets. By 1961, they built the Berlin Wall, not to keep enemies out, but to keep their own people in. But you cannot kill the human soul's hunger for freedom. That hunger was festering, waiting to explode. Then came November 9th, 1989. One official, one mistake, one sentence broadcast live. A reporter asks, when do the new travel rules take effect? Günter Schabowski shrugs. Immediately, without delay. Hours later, checkpoints erupt, guards freeze, gates open, the Berlin Wall falls. 41 years of fear collapse in a single night. Months later, East Germans were given a choice, a rare chance to right the wrongs, to reclaim justice, equality, and truth. They could reform the regime or end it forever. They didn't hesitate. They filled the streets, marching, shouting, demanding the death of their own nation. Because to them, losing East Germany wasn't defeat, it was redemption. To destroy the state that had watched them was to finally see themselves again. And so they voted, overwhelmingly, for erasure. Not just to end the East, but to reunite with the West. To trade a country built on control for a chance at being human again. October 3rd, 1990, East Germany was gone. A nation erased not by invasion, but by choice. One vote, and a country extinguished itself. One nation, reborn from its own ashes. The shadow state leaves us this truth. No surveillance is perfect. No fear lasts forever. You can cage a body, but never the human spirit. Newfoundland, a country that voted itself away. 6,989 votes just killed one of the world's oldest nations. Not bombs, not bullets, just ballots. In 60 seconds, 81 years of sovereignty died by its own hand. That nation was Newfoundland, once the world's oldest self-governing dominion. Older than Canada, older than Australia. It had its own flag, its own prime minister, and its own destiny, until it voted to give it all away. For 8 decades, Newfoundland stood proud, a sea-carved nation built on courage and cod. Then came the Great Depression. The fisheries collapsed, debt consumed the government, and in 1933, its own parliament did the unthinkable. It voted itself out of existence. Democracy dissolved. Britain took control, a rule that would last 15 years. After World War II, London offered Newfoundland 3 paths: remain under British rule, reclaim independence, or join Canada. Most Newfoundlanders didn't even want Confederation. The idea of joining Canada, a clear no. To them, it meant the end of their identity, their independence, their nation. Their National Convention voted 29-16 to keep it off, but Britain ignored them and forced the question anyway. When the vote finally came, the outcome was shocking. A stark reminder of how unpredictable the human mind can be. The result was razor thin: 78,323 for joining Canada, 71,334 for independence. A margin of just 6,989 votes, 4.6%, ended 81 years of nationhood. The real question is this: how does a people so determined to protect their identity and heritage suddenly choose to give it up when they had a choice? What could have sparked such a change? On March 31, 1949, at 11:59 p.m., the flag of Newfoundland was lowered for the last time. At midnight, it vanished, reborn as Canada's 10th province. No army conquered Newfoundland. No tyrant forced its fall. It simply voted itself away. Did they make the right choice, or should they have stayed independent? The answer? We may never know. A sovereign nation undone by democracy, given the freedom to choose, and it chose to erase its own existence. Proof that sometimes freedom isn't stolen, it's surrendered by choice. And in that quiet surrender, history reminds us, even an entire nation can vanish without a single shot fired. Geneva, the republic that chose to vanish. 78,000 people voted their nation out of existence. No armies, no shots fired. Just one collective decision that erased 400 years of history. Forever. Geneva, a republic older than most European kingdoms, fiercely independent, proudly Protestant, self-governing for 4 centuries, and in one shocking choice, it surrendered everything. But here's the twist history won't tell you. This wasn't inevitable, it was deliberate. After Napoleon's fall, Geneva woke up surrounded. France to the west, Sardinia to the east. Europe's great powers redrawing borders like a game of chess. Geneva was exposed, alone, defenseless. The city-state feared extinction, not from cannons, but from political isolation. Then came the impossible decision: face annihilation alone, or surrender centuries of sovereignty for protection. Geneva's leaders weighed independence against survival, preserve their republic, or merge with Switzerland to safeguard identity, faith, and their way of life. They chose survival. At the Congress of Vienna, Austria, France, and Britain watched every move. One misstep, one careless word, and Geneva could have been swallowed whole. The fate of an entire nation rested on a handful of diplomats. In May 1815, the Treaty of Reunion sealed the Republic's fate. Geneva became a Swiss canton. Its parliament dissolved, its flag lowered. A 400-year-old republic. Gone. Geneva was never conquered. The people, through their leaders, made the decision themselves. And that's the brutal lesson history teaches. Sovereignty isn't always stolen. Freedom isn't always seized. Sometimes nations trade it willingly for security, pragmatism, survival. Even the proudest republics can vanish overnight. Here's a question that echoes through time. Would Geneva still exist today if they hadn't felt threatened by the superpowers surrounding them? If your country's future were on the line tomorrow, would you fight for freedom or surrender it to survive? Because every choice shapes history, and this choice erased a nation. Subscribe to see more stories where decisions, not battles, rewrite the world. Every choice matters, and every story deserves to be remembered. History was wild. We've got the receipt, people. Oh yeah, the past must be crazy,